Candidate number 2. Many members believe Grand Lodge has funding issues. What funding sources do you see for the future of Grand Lodge?
Grand Lodge does have funding issues, just as all the lodges have funding issues. The funding issues for Grand Lodge are imposed by the member lodges at the annual communication by approving or disapproving budgets. The Grand Lodge needs to look at the entire equation, which they are doing now, and reducing costs and looking at how business is being conducted. We are limited on what we can do to raise money. We can ask for bequests from our members. We have the Grand Lodge fees and assessments. That's really about it. There's not much more than you can do to that, and I'm not sure we want to do more than that. I think we need to be very careful with the resources that the Grand Lodge has. They have to be good stewards of those resources. Our finance committee is responsible for helping with that. Costs are something that we have to continually look at, and if we can be more efficient, then we will be more efficient. And there are efficiencies underway that are being looked at. The MRC is a, excuse the expression, a white elephant that we had thought we had unloaded, and we just found out that that's back on the table. But that will be addressed again. So revenue for the Grand Lodge, the easy answer is raise dues or raise assessments, and nobody wants to do that. The other answer is get more members. The truth is, it's not that simple. It requires economic knowledge, financial knowledge, if you will, and using the resources smart and using the resources in a way that best enhances the operation of Grand Lodge.
Candidate number 3, same question.
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily a funding issue as much as it is an organizational issue, in the sense that, you know, I recently wrote in something in the Tribune that some people, without being over political, some people are big government and some people are small government. When it comes to Grand Lodge, I'm a small government type guy. It's in print. I don't believe in a big Grand Lodge. I believe that what we need is big lodges, not big Grand Lodges. Some of the matrices from a business perspective that I would like to see presented to Grand Lodge, not to vote on like we do the budget, but I'd like to see average spending and budget per member. As our membership goes down, is our spending going down? And if it's not, then obviously we're not having efficiencies put into the process that would allow, you know, from a one-to-one member to spending. Why isn't that going down, and what's the efficiencies that are happening there? Now, there are levels between the individual brother and the Grand Lodge. Let me give you one that happened in my district when I was district deputy of 19. We obviously have the lodge in between the Grand Lodge and the individual member. To do administrative work and to actually have a lodge on the books costs a certain amount of money in just administrative fees. It's just, you know, this isn't something I've analyzed. I don't have that kind of access as Brother Woody here has to the Finance Committee. But we closed a lodge, essentially. It merged, Twin Falls Lodge, in my district because it wasn't, and this was up to the lodge itself, of course, to vote this, but it wasn't a viable lodge. And the fact of the matter is as you go around this jurisdiction, the reality is that I would estimate, and this is just a pure guess, that we have somewhere between 10 and 20% of the lodges in this jurisdiction are not truly viable. And they're simply on the books, and that actually adds inefficiencies to the whole system. And the number of staff that you have to manage those lodges, etc. So I think we need to look at the entire jurisdiction, and we need to figure out where the money is going to work the best, and we need to look at the matrices that would say, hey, we have this many members, we should be spending this much, and it should be transparent to the membership of Grand Lodge.
Candidate number 1, same question.
As a member of the Finance Committee, I'm really not aware of that Grand Lodge, as you want to call it, has a funding problem. What we have is a spending problem and accountability problem, which for the last 3 to 4 years, the Finance Committee has taken steps to hold Grand Lodge accountable. You got to realize Grand Lodge, we are Grand Lodge. All the members of the organization are Grand Lodge. What we keep calling Grand Lodge is nothing more than an administrative body. And they are spending the money that we give them. And therefore, we need to hold them accountable. For the last 2 years, we've been able to pass a budget at our Grand Lodge meeting on the first ballot. Why? Because the Committee on Finance has started holding the Grand Secretary, the Grand Master, and everybody accountable for what they spend and say, look, you have a decreasing membership, but you can't continue to have an increasing overhead. And you have to look at where you're spending. We have some projects that are going on that should be voted upon at Grand Lodge up or down the continuum, because some of them aren't very, beneficial. And the best way for us, as the members of Grand Lodge, all of us here today, to do that is to go to Grand Lodge when we have it, stand up, voice what you believe, back what you believe, and then vote accordingly, and be informed when you go to Grand Lodge. We're working on right now to put out the budget, to have it on the Grand Lodge website so that people can look at it before they go to Grand Lodge and see where we're going to spend. And if you don't like what you see, then be willing to stand up and question it.
1 minute.
And that's what we need to do. Remember, we are Grand Lodge. They're just administrators. The 4 elected officials that we put in, those brothers are our representative. They basically take care of the administrative side. We have to hold them accountable. And like I said, I don't know of a funding problem that we're facing at the moment. We have to control our spending, period.